great.
Good. Hey, thanks for customizing. Thanks for customizing my affiliate link on that.
No problem.
Let me first. Good. Let me first introduce you to who's here, and then I've got a couple of. After you do your thing, I've got a couple questions. So let me just quickly tell you who's in the room, and then you can do your deal. I've got 6 people sitting around the table. This is my high-end event, the Fred Info Bootcamp, in which I have Urmil Patel. Urmil is an internet marketing specialist from the UK. I've got Fez Versi, Urmil, and Fez Versi is from Botswana, and he's a camping expert, and he is going to be starting a TV show in Botswana. I then have a guy named Branch Whitney. He owns the premier hiking site and is the premier hiking expert in Southern Nevada. He owns hikinglasvegas.com.
Okay.
Which, if you're not aware, there's great hiking within an hour of the strip here that he can tell you all about. I then have, next to Branch, Bob Sessa. And just to show you how diverse our group is, Bob, for many years, over 30 years, has been a master plumber. He is going to be showing you how to do your own plumbing repairs with videos that he's going to be producing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, next to him, we've got a couple, Mindy and Kevin Dawson, who are starting a site called Asperger'sAuthority.com because they've got 2 kids that have Asperger's, and they're going to show that community some things and become, be the gateway to show them all the different latest information to help them survive as parents. So it's geared to the parents of Asperger, kids with Asperger. So there you have it.
Well, that's great. I'm sorry, I forgot what Urmil's company is doing.
Urmil is doing internet marketing.
Okay. Great. Well, great to meet all of you guys. You sound like a great group, and you all sound like you've got good niches to be in. I certainly have friends or have done case studies in almost all these niches, so that's nice. Today I'm going to talk about it's my presentation. It'll be probably about 20 minutes, but it's 25 minutes. It's very focused specifically on Paywall. After that, we can talk about things that are a little more baseline in terms of, how would you decide whether or not you should do a membership site or a content continuity site, or whether you should do something for free. For example, I'm sure Bob Sessa is aware of AskTheBuilder.com.
Mm-hmm. He is.
Oh, yeah.
Had started out as a free site with ebook sales, and then became an AdWords site, and then he actually went over and tried being a subscription site for about 6 months, and then went back to being mainly AdWords. So there's all sorts of interesting things there to talk about. In terms of hiking Las Vegas, I can tell you we've done a case study on Las Vegas. It's LasVegas.com, and there I know the main thing people wanted to know was, should it be mobile ready or not, that site. And in fact, they did tests and found that anybody who was interested in Las Vegas in general greatly preferred a mobile site as opposed to a full website. So mobile layout worked better for that marketplace. Camping sites and travel sites are becoming very popular. In fact, the full-time editor of our subscription site Insider product, I'm actually the publisher. The editor, Kathy McCabe, is actually traveling right now. She was giving a speech in Washington, D.C. at a publisher's convention this morning. But she also is the publisher as a hobby of a travel site called DreamOfItaly.com, which is a subscription site, a membership site for people who want to learn where to travel in Italy. So we do have some background there. And of course, internet marketing, I guess Irma probably knows a lot of good people in that, and we have a lot of content around that, mostly around how do you make money with that kind of specialty content. So it's a nice group and certainly a good group for this topic. And of course, my specialty topic would be subscription websites and how to make money with them and how to decide whether or not you should be a subscription website or not. In particular, for this presentation, I'm going to be talking about paywall pages. Now, the paywall page is the page on a website, if you've already decided it's going to be paid, in other words, they can't get in unless they pay some money, what does the paywall page look like so that you make as much money as possible and people don't come and they go, oh, it's not free, and they just leave? You know, as you know, most people will look at it and go, oh my gosh, I don't want to pay for this. So how do you get them to pay for content? So I'm going to show you some stuff that is that are test results from real life publishers who do have paywall pages and what they've learned from it. And then we can talk more about the basics after that. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. First of all, there is a real science to this, which is nice to know. By the way, Ermel, just so you know, and perhaps the rest of you as well, there's a lot of instructional material out there about how to start a paywall site specifically in the internet marketing niche. And a lot of the internet marketing gurus now talk about how to start a membership site. I want you to bear in mind that a lot of the internet marketing gurus, unless they have published a paywall site in a different marketplace or separately, often the advice they give you may not be right for other markets. And they don't know that, because what they know is what works for them. They made millions of dollars, you know, selling information on internet marketing. And they just make the assumption that those marketing tactics and those paywall tactics will work for every niche. They will not work necessarily. So the rest of you don't say, oh my gosh, I've got to follow these internet marketing gurus and do everything they say about membership sites. It may not be the case. You got to take it with a grain of salt, and you got to test it, and then you got to look for other best practices. So what we do at my company, Subscription Site Insider, is we look for what are the best practices across many, many niches. We cover every niche there is practically, and say, okay, what is the science here? What does tend to work? And that's what I'm going to show you today. All right, so these are the top 5 rules for paywalls from our research that we've conducted. First of all, when you have a paywall page, you need to remove the clutter. This is incredibly difficult, especially for a content entrepreneur and someone who's very, very proud of their content. Often you're going to be so proud of all the amazing content that you put on your site. I've got videos on this, I've got articles on that, I've got tips on the other thing, that you want to put a little bit of that on the homepage. You know, you want to put like a million different things on the homepage, hoping that somebody will see something that appeals to them so they'll continue to click through. Also, a lot of the membership site templates, if you're using a company such as MemberGate or SubHub or some of the other companies that kind of give you a membership site in a can, often their homepage template will have, the content management system will have a bunch of areas for you to put a bunch of different information on it. So it will tempt you to put a bunch of different information on your site. What we have learned is that doesn't always work for everybody. It works for some people. You go to the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, you'll see a whole bunch of different pieces of content on there. On my site, it is currently working for me. We are testing other methods as well, though. So you'll see my site homepage change dramatically over the month. For this site, this is eNannySource. People signed up, parents signed up to try to search in the database for a nanny, a professional nanny, who was listed there. They found that the page, they tried 2 different pages, and as you see, one on the left, it's got all sorts of little bullet points and lots of useful information, and it's like, wow, look at all this stuff. And the other one is much, much more simple. It's just like, here, search for the nanny. They're just trying to get you immediately involved. Much less stuff. The page with much less stuff got a 40% lift. What that means is, out of every 100 parents that came, 40% more were likely to sign up. So this is 40% more signups with the exact same traffic. They didn't have to go out and get more traffic. They made more money with their existing traffic. And that's what optimizing your paywall is all about. You know, you spend so much money and time trying to get a lot of traffic, but what really matters is, can you convert that traffic when it comes? One of the nice things to bear in mind here is that they use Google Website Optimizer to run this test. Google Website Optimizer is a free tool. I'm not a total geek, so I don't find it incredibly easy to use, but there's a lot of video tutorials on the web that are free. They're actually from Google. There's a lot of help on the web that's free from Google about how to use it. You can do this yourself, or you can hire a consultant who specializes in this. We've actually got a whole list of those people. And they can run these tests, and again, make more money with your current traffic. You don't want to invest in a lot of traffic driving unless you know that you can convert it. Here's another page. What a lot of membership sites do is they have a paywall page for each piece of content. So let's say you had 15 different videos on plumbing, for example. Each one might be a different kind of plumbing problem. You'd probably end up with a site where you had a paywall page for each one of those things. Oh, if you want to learn how to do this, come on in. If you want to learn how to do that, come on in. It's the same thing as a newspaper paywall page where you may click on a particular headline and it comes to the headline page and shows you a little summary of the story or the beginning of the story, and it says, oh, if you want to keep on reading, you're going to have to be a member, you're going to have to pay. Well, those individual paywall pages are what this site, WriteWork, was trying to optimize, trying to get more conversions from. In this case, they had a particular page just for the lectures, notes, and thoughts on the 1931 movie Frankenstein. They also had a paywall page for a billion other things. So they had 10,000 of these different pages for each piece of content in their site. Now, if you're using a WordPress backend, let's say you've got a WordPress site and you decide to stick a paywall on it, you can do this so that each different page of content in WordPress has its own unique paywall page. That is something it's a pretty easy, basic thing to do, and most of the WordPress plugins will help you do that. So this is something that you as an entrepreneur can do. The key that they wanted to test here was, should they just have the headline and the information about the story along with, hey, you got to sign in to view the rest of this? Or should they have a little sales information at the top of the page, as you see up here, that just describes the site as a whole? So over here, the focus is on just the piece of content the person was trying to get to. Over here, they still have that, but they have a header saying, hey, by the way, this is what this site's all about. They wanted to see which would get better conversion. And what they learned here was they got, it's amazing, 142.7% lift in clicks, but call to action clicks. In other words, people who clicked on a button that got them further into the site. And it was about a 50% lift in sales. That's a huge difference. Think about it. To get, this got 50% more sales than this. I mean, and they both look like pretty good pages. They don't look bad. So having that headline at the top, having that, hey, this is what this is all about, made a difference further on as the person went through the sales process. Now, here's something that a lot of sites do. But they'll have a paywall page, and on the paywall page, they'll have this big box saying, members, sign in here. You've probably been to websites where they had that big box to sign in. Versus some sites, just have a little tiny link. Usually it's actually located right up at the very top of the page, like, whoo, tiny little thing, and the rest of the page is just all about why you should buy. Now, a lot of site owners did face this. They say, well, my members need to know how to sign in. They're the people who paid for it. I've got to be nice to them. I've got to give them the easiest possible usability to get them in there. Or they're not going to keep on paying. They're not going to be happy. Well, I've got to tell you that the data shows that you should have a tiny little member sign-in box. This is actually the homepage of Netflix. Netflix has multivariate and A/B tested the living daylights out of their homepage. To see this homepage, you do have to sign out. So if you're already a member of Netflix and you're signed in, you have to sign out and you have to go over and look at the regular page that people who are not members would see. And what you'll notice here is their entire page is dedicated toward converting the newbie. The only thing that you see if you're a member to sign in is this little tiny thing in the upper right corner. I have seen other tests from people like video game sites, all sorts of different sites, where they had a big giant member sign-in box, cluttering part of the page. They got rid of it. They moved it to a tiny little link up here, and it increased the scaling power of that page exponentially. They made more money because I think, frankly, because newbies weren't distracted by the member box, and you weren't wasting your real estate. I mean, this is called real estate. This is the amount of the website you can see above the fold on like a typical computer. Not much space. There's not much space there to sell. So you've got to make the most of it and really use it super effectively. And if you're wasting part of that space in this big giant clunky member login box, well, you're just kind of, you're wasting your ability to sell. Those are very valuable pixels. You don't want to waste them. All right, the next thing. How big can your button be? I have seen countless tests where if the website had a button to act on something, buy this ebook, subscribe now, click to anything where you're trying to get them to take action. If the button was bigger, generally more people took action. It's the dumbest thing. I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, what color should my button be? They'll do all these button color tests. They'll do all sorts of tests around that, which always made me laugh. I'm like, it really, generally is not about the color. Although, usually a tiny gray button doesn't do very well. The wording of the button really matters. You can do button wording tests that show a difference. Usually submit and clearly reset or, you know, clear form are bad words. So what could you do to make the button more exciting? Maybe it can match the offer in your headline. Maybe it can match the offer in your offer, you know, start your trial now, something like that. But just the size of the button matters. Often a designer will kind of use a routine button. They'll kind of stick something in that just, you know, okay, yeah, this is good enough. And you have to really push your designer to say, can we double that size? Can we make it bigger? Honest to God, this will make you more money. It's a dumb little thing, but it's make the damn thing bigger. This is actually a test. This is a website. It was targeting teenage girls who were hoping to improve their personal pages on the internet. I think it's the MySpace page. And this is their original page.
On the left.
So this is their offer page. So you can just click here to download. That's a pretty big button. I mean, that's pretty big and shiny. I mean, it's bigger, I bet you, than most buttons on most sites. I mean, I rarely see a button that nice and big. And yet, when they tested it with this gargantuan button, which is huge, they found they got this result with the bigger button. Look at that. That bigger button got 135% more people to click. And they ended up buying more. So they got 51% higher earnings per click. Now, the wording on the buttons was different. The background color was different. I mean, there was a lot of differences. But in general, they had the same image. They had the same offer. It wasn't, you know, a different price or anything. So there was a lot of similarity. They actually ended up doing 45 different tests. This was the winning page, though. So this is the winning one that did the best. How big can your button be? I would look at my homepage and say, can I make my button even bigger? Lastly, when you're having an order form, what often happens, and this happens a lot with the WordPress plugin software too, you'll have a paywall page. This is an example actually of a paywall page from my own site where, you know, it's got a, you know, someone clicks through and they want to learn about this boot camp. And we have a little summary of it, and we've got our little tiny, you know, tiny member login, not a big thing. Mostly we're like, okay, you know, big giant button, get started, little sales information about why you want to join. Usually what happens, though, with these pages is on most sites, great, you get a paywall page, you get them started, and then often the next page is a generic order form. So it doesn't refer to anything. It just says, you know, here are your prices, fill in your credit card, blah, blah, blah. It's just boom. We have seen data from several sites that have tested this, including MrSkin.com, showing that it is much more effective if on the next page, I call this a barrier. This is your Paywall 1 page, and then your next page that you go to where they're actually ordering, you have to include that information they were trying to get to again. Now, this is fairly simple programming. This is not, you know, really complex programming. We just sort of dynamically inserted the headline. We had a programmer do this. It was not difficult. It didn't cost us a lot of money. But just inserting that headline instead of just having a generic order form that just everybody got to made a difference in our sales. So we're continuing that, they call it kind of the steps. We're continuing, this is the information you were trying to get to. Remember, you were dying for this. Here you go, here you go. Continuing to remind them of why they wanted to order. So no generic order forms if they're coming from something specific. Okay, here's a little quiz. Now, I've just shared the rules with you. What's wrong? This is an actual real-life paywall from an information site. What's wrong with this paywall? Would somebody like to shout out something?
Yeah, first off, you got a big thing for the member sign-in, which we shouldn't have. It should be small. Other ideas?
Exactly.
There's no big join here now button. It's not a big button to like, how do I get in?
That's right. There's just this little tiny subscribe now. It's not even a button. It's just a link.
Yeah. What else? It looks like it's pretty heavily. There's a lot of copy. It's not clean. It's not. It could be a lot simpler.
Yeah, I think having an ad here is definitely distracting. Why you would want? What if someone's going to click on the ad? They're certainly not going to go ahead and subscribe. They're going to get lost.
Yep.
I don't even know what they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what they're trying to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, what they're saying here is, well, you get this one story, but they're not saying in general beyond the story what else you're getting.
Yeah. Give me a summary like that other page did of what I'm getting.
Yeah, give me a reason to continue clicking.
Too much clutter.
Well, I've got to tell you, this is actually one of the better paywalls that I've seen too. That's the sad thing. So when people say you can't sell subscriptions on the internet, this year we're estimating $15 to $16 billion in the U.S. will be spent on information subscriptions on the internet. So it's a big industry. It's not tiny, but and that's $15 to $16 billion being spent on super crappy paywall pages. So if they just improve things, can you imagine how much money they'd make?
And how?
Yeah. Now, here's one final tip. You can try adding a video testimonial to your paywall page. So they've already seen on this page, this is Demand Metric. This is a site for professional marketers in a corporate setting. And people who come to this page they've already been to kind of the Demand Metric homepage, and they've clicked through and looked at a little bit of the content and said, ooh, that looks interesting. What I think is interesting is they did, unfortunately, they did send them to a generic page that doesn't say, where you came from. It doesn't say, oh, and if you're still interested in getting this whatever, fill out the form. But it did include a customer testimonial. And I bet that makes a difference. It also, of course, gives you some logos of people who are members and a verified thing. So on the right here, they've done a very nice job of kind of saying, we're trustworthy, we're real, these are real people. And we actually do have a special report on how do you get customers to give you these video testimonials and how do you do it really easily, because there are super easy tools for that. So they're doing some things right here. One thing I wouldn't do is the cancel button. Obviously, mistake. Why you want a cancel button is beyond me. So they do some smart stuff on here, and I would definitely go check out Demand Metric and see how they're doing things. Here's another example of a video testimonial. This is actually a site for doctors, and they got real-life doctors to actually do the videos, these are real-life paying members, talking about how they like the site, and they actually even do a little transcript of what the guy said. So in case you're somebody who's more of a reader than a video watcher, which I'm definitely a reader, not a video watcher, I really like this, how I could see the real-life testimonial. So testimonials are, especially if you're not a really famous name, you're not Consumer Reports or Wall Street Journal, this sort of thing can make a difference for your sales. It's just people believe in you. All right, and that's the end of my presentation. I did want to let you know that we do have a special 1-hour tutorial coming up on June 28th, specifically about WordPress plugins. So if you're going to build on a WordPress backend or content management system, or you already have a WordPress site and you want to turn it into a paywall site, start making membership money. We are going to talk through all the different companies, what to look for, what not to look for. There are some pretty famous plugins that actually aren't that great. We're actually testing this ourselves on our own site. We're not using the famous plugin. We're using a less famous one. So we're going to talk through all of that. All you have to do is join and become a member of our site before June 28th, and you'll get a free access to this hour-long webinar with Q&A. And this is the special URL we have here for Gleeck. So when you join, you definitely want to use this URL to get credit. And just to be open about this, we are a membership site ourselves. You can join for $57 or less per month, and it does include our complete case study library. We've got about almost 50 case studies of all different sites and what they did and what worked for them, pricing, marketing, everything. And spreadsheets, how to pick what your price will be, how to do your marketing, all that sort of thing. So it's a complete tutorial site on everything you're going to need to know to run a subscription site.
Hey, Anne.
So, here you go.
Yeah, well, excellent. Thank you very much. Here's my quick comment, which is that and everybody who's watching or listening to this, and by the way, I'm recording the presentation, and it'll be up on the site as well. I am very, very interested, obviously, in the June 28th date, because myself and all the people I'm partnered with, before I met Anne, which is about a month ago, I was about to make a decision on which WordPress plugin paywall solution I was going to use. And she said, no, wait, don't do anything yet until you come to the June 28th. I think this is and I'm doing that because I think she knows what the heck she's talking about. And so I want to make sure to not do anything until I hear all of her information on this topic. And the thing that I pointed to, just so you know, Ann, and I've got a couple quick questions for you, but I just want to say this. One of the things that I most like about you, and the folks in this room have seen the actual sign that used to hang in my garage that I brought in sign. It's a big yellow plasticized sign that says measurement eliminates argument. One of the reasons why you and I think, get along so well is that you, like me, are concerned not with what we think or what we like or what we feel, but the data and what it shows.
Yes.
I mean, all of that other stuff is nice and fuzzy, but it doesn't really give us actual results. I got a couple quick questions for you here. Number one, your offer, when I go to your site, and I did so initially, it's 10 days for $1, and then you convert to a $57 a month.
Actually, we own it. That's a private offer. We use it occasionally. Our official offer is $7 or less a month.
Got it. Okay.
But we do sometimes do a private offer. You know, you have to have all different marketing offers and measure them and learn what works. We also, for a while, ran a completely free offer. It was 10 days for $0, and we tested that as well. So we've tested all different things. We also tested doing you had to pay $197 up front as an initiation fee, and then move into $57 a month. So we've tested all different sorts of things.
Let me
trying to get the data.
Got it. Let me ask the question, which is this, which is in one of the options where you allow, and you just gave me two in which this would be the case. One where for $1 I get access for 10 days, and the other I get access for free for 10 days. What has been your experience with people? Because what you do is you open up your entire site and all the various things. You allow people to come in and download stuff. So I remember that my initial reaction was, you know what? I'm going to get involved in this site for $1. I better download everything because who knows? This might be crap, which it was not. But it might be, so let me just get everything I can right away to review it at my leisure in the event that blah, blah, blah. So what have you found, and again, let's go back to the data, of all the different offers that you make to people for your site, what has been the most effective, and is it dependent on the group, et cetera, et cetera?
It's dependent on the group, it's dependent on the time of year, it's dependent on a lot. What we have, and we've even got more offers than that actually, forgot a few. What we have found is that, first of all, if you're going to, there's one rule. If you're going to make a free offer, always, always, always get a credit card up front. So you don't do a free offer where they just enter their name and email and they can get in. You have to get a credit card up front. And you have to ping that credit card to make sure that it's good. Now, that's how we switched to the buck. So at least we're pinging it for something to make sure it was good. You can ping it for a little bit more pre-authorization, but then sometimes that shows up on their account, they get all confused. So it's better just to do it for the buck. If you don't get the credit card up front, it's much, much harder to get a credit card afterwards. People just are, they're lazy, inertia, they don't get around to it. It's a little harder to convince them. It's like giving away the cow, with the milk. Just, I'm going to give you a little milk. That's all. To get the cow, you do have to give them your credit card. Now, the other thing is that I have a full-time editorial staff on this product. So we have a continual flow of new content. Every single week we do a brand new case study. In fact, I can show you, this is like a list of some of the case studies that we've done. You can see it's just a huge long list of case studies, but most Tuesdays there's a new case study. Most Thursdays we have a new how-to tool, a checklist, real-life samples, a financial modeling spreadsheet. We've got all sorts of, so we've got a regular editorial schedule, and full-time people that this is what they do is they create these checklists, they create these spreadsheets, they create these tools, vendor guides, you name it. In addition, once a month, we have that webinar I mentioned. It's a different webinar every month, so it's a different topic. We shake things up a little bit because you never know what's going to entice somebody either to stay or to join. And so even if you join for 10 days and then you bail because you thought you got all you needed, the chances that I'm going to come up with a case study in the next few months, maybe on your direct competitor, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I got to get that too. or maybe next month's webinar, maybe you didn't care about WordPress, but you really care about, payment processing tips or legal stuff that you have to know, or, new marketing, how to do Facebook advertising for subscription sites, case studies just on that. I mean, we're going to come up with a continual flow of content that brings you back. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need that too. Oh my gosh, I need that too. We also have a member forum that launches shortly, and that makes a difference because people don't join for a forum. They don't necessarily, they join because they want that one piece of content that's going to help their pain point right now, but they'll stick around because they're a member of a forum and they can ask a question anytime, they can email, they make connections, they make friends, so they stick around for the other members. So the key is I have continual flow of new information, of new sexy stuff that they're like, oh, no, I want that too. So you hook them. We do have some people who come in and they'll even say to customer service, they'll be like, I'm only coming for 1 month. And they'll even be like, please make sure you turn off my subscription after this 30-day period. And we're like, sure. And then they'll call up beforehand and we'll be like, could you keep it going? We had one guy who called up, there were actually several who called up and canceled their subscription only to have people in other departments of their company say, what did you do, you idiot? Oh my God, turn it on. We've had people who literally had an individual subscription for $57 a month, and they canceled it. They called back a few days later and said, oh, I got in trouble. We need a company-wide subscription, and we ended up selling it for $1,000 a year. Because, everybody else had had a taste of it and went, oh my, no, we need this. So you just have to be so great to keep that money flowing in. You have to be so great to catch them and keep them.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you one sort of fairly typically interview-ish question here. Knowing what you know now versus what you knew when you first got started, the 3 biggest things that will have the greatest impact on anyone who does a membership site, what would those 3 things be?
I'm trying to think. I hate to say it when you mean when I first get started, because I've been doing this since about 1995.
Well, in other words, what's the 3 most important elements to generating more revenue that you know now that you didn't know whenever? Go back to 1980 if you want, whatever time frame. The 3 most important things that you've learned that can have an impact on our sites if we do a membership or a paywall site.
Sure. Well, I mean, number one, it really, having that outbound marketing is super critical. And most information publishers, especially people who are kind of entrepreneurs, and they're often, you're an expert and you're publishing something on your area of expertise. I know all about hiking in Las Vegas. Tend to focus on the content because that's their love. They got into this because they love sharing this information. They know this information. They're so excited. And they sort of very passively market. They sort of go, oh, well, I guess I'll have such great content that, the search engines will find me and I'll get lots of traffic. Maybe they do a little bit of AdWords pay-per-click. They don't really put a marketing plan forward and really actively, aggressively market themselves, line up all different types of partnerships. I mean, you have to do a lot of different types of marketing. You can't just do one kind of marketing. So if they're not spending at least 30% of their time that they spend on the site on active marketing, and I'm talking about getting the word out there, they're not going to get the traffic they deserve. We've done case studies about a lot of these people, and it's just remarkable to have this amazing content, and it's dribble-drabble traffic. The folks from the internet marketing world tend to have the same problem because they tend to rely very heavily on the same tactics that everybody else uses, which is generally just affiliate marketing, partnership marketing, maybe a little bit of pay-per-click. So they're not doing the aggressive, broad range of marketing tactics that they need to do. You need to be doing member referral marketing. We did a case study about a website recently where the guy gets 16% of his total members just through other members referring their friends. But you have to have a really aggressive referral campaign for that. Obviously, you need affiliate marketing. That should be about 15% of your sales. Yes, pay-per-click, but are you doing pay-per-click on Facebook, which is actually these days working better than pay-per-click on Google for a lot of information sites? Are you doing pay-per-click on LinkedIn? cheap and fantastic, depends on the site. So there's different types of pay-per-click you could be doing. Are you doing heavy social marketing? Social marketing is difficult. I'm talking Twitter, Facebook notes, Facebook fan pages, all sorts of blogging, et cetera, et cetera. It can suck up all your time, especially if you're really comfortable with it. So are you measuring it? Are you making sure that you're not spending too much time on it, just enough? That actually is the biggest challenge there.
Okay, that's
I know
number.
a lot of people hold Twitter all day and they don't make a dime from it.
You're done with number one. How about number two? I want
Right,
to.
so number one was the marketing. Number two is, and do you have someone either on your team or a freelancer or a friend or you yourself who is glib and fluid with slapping up web pages? I mean, for me, the tech has always been the biggest problem.
Yep.
Maybe I didn't have time. I was so busy creating the content or doing the marketing deals, I didn't have time to make my homepage pretty.
Yep.
You know, I didn't have time to swap out that picture. Usually it's very, very simple HTML, but it's like, who's got time? Oh, we got to throw a form up on that page for the webinar. Oh, we've got to, this or that. Oh, we've got to do an A/B test, with this page. And nobody, if you don't have that tech love in-house, you're in trouble. And I said, I happen to know Tim Carter of Ask the Builder really well. He's been a friend of mine for probably a decade. And, he had, like, the neighbor's teenage son. That was his tech department for years. But that made a difference, that he had someone who could just whip that stuff up, who was very comfortable and glib. Usually it wasn't very technical stuff. It wasn't very hard. But it was just having that person at your fingertips to be able to whip up and do stuff for you.
Yeah, we have a guy here that we recommend named Dave Hamilton.
Good.
What I refer to as I refer to him as the web marketing magician. But I can send you an email. He happens to be one of those good guys that does that.
That's great. You really just also want to be able to develop the ability in-house. Can you whip up a landing page? Can you whip up a form on your site? If you just suddenly in the middle of the night come up with this great idea, 10 tips for hiking, outside Las Vegas, slam it up as a free offer. Can you whip up a PDF of that? Can you stick up the sign-in form? Can you hook it to your email provider? Can you, Because if you're going to wait 3 weeks for the guy to get to it, and you're going to pay money for it, and then what if it doesn't work? You need to be able to get tools so you can do it yourself and train yourself, or have someone who just loves tinkering around in systems. Most of the systems are super easy to use, but it's just the tinkering. But it just takes time and energy. So that's important. For example, on our blog, it's the Paywall time, can you whip up a free offer? Right now, this little free offer, 7 proven secrets, that's driving probably 70% of the options we get from this blog. But do you have the ability to whip this up yourself on your blog? I mean, I do, because I made sure my blog was built in such a way that I could. You need to be able to do it yourself. I don't have time to call somebody and go, wait, could you do this? And, you need to be able to put it in place so you can do it yourself.
Okay, so outbound marketing number one, be able to have tech yourself or do it yourself or have somebody at your fingertips. Number two, what's number three?
Number 3 is payment processing. It's officially, it is super easy to get a merchant account. It's super easy to get, authorized net or something to be running your payments through for you. But right now, an average of 30% of the payments that you're going to be processing are going to be denied. It's huge. In 1998, it was 5%. It has rocketed upwards. And that's because, not just because people's credit cards expire, sometimes they hit their limit, especially these days. Almost 40% of Americans who buy subscriptions on the internet are using a debit card instead of a credit card to buy that subscription, and they hit that limit awfully quickly because it's their bank account, not their credit card line. You won't know it's a debit card. You'll think it's a Visa card or something. You also have a lot of fraud. The amount of fraud is rocketing upwards as well, where people are stealing cards. The whole Sony breakthrough. Banks are calling you and saying, or sending you a new card and saying, cut up the old one. You got a new card now because we had a fraud problem. I mean, you know how that happens. People are getting rid of cards and switching to new cards with cheaper rates. The cards that people use to sign up for your reoccurring billing, are constantly in a state of flux. And if you're counting on that revenue coming in every month, but 30% of those cards are failing for some reason, I mean, that's your profit. and it's all operational. There are ways to manage it, but you've really got to pay attention to it. And again, a lot of entrepreneurs, you might be good at code or you might be good at content, but you don't want to futz around in the back of authorizing that. You don't want to sit there and figure out export dates. You don't want to have to figure out all that stuff, but you're going to have to. And we do have a lot of tools on our website that help with that. But that's going to be super critical to your bottom line profits. How do you manage those credit card payments? By the way, do not take what you think is the easy way out and use like a Google card or
PayPal.
one of the other third-party. Don't use PayPal. Don't use PayPal unless you are planning to use PayPal until the end of time and you're planning to never, ever, ever sell your site. But if you're thinking about maybe someday selling your business, you can't be on PayPal. Because PayPal will not hand over those recurring billing accounts to a new owner. They won't. They'll refuse.
Interesting. Hey, Anne, thank you so much for your time thus far. Do you mind taking a few questions from the group?
Sure. I've got a... Oh, we're fine.
Okay.
My next speech is 2 o'clock.
Okay, super.
So it's really hungry.
Yeah, so let's see. Anybody have a question for Anne? Branch does. This is Branch Whitney, Hiking Las Vegas, who was nodding his head vigorously when you were saying some things. Branch, speak clearly so she can hear you.
Hi, Anne. Great presentation.
Hey, Branch.
I'm guilty as charged about having a membership site. I've had it for over 10 years, but not marketing enough. My first question is, which membership software allows a trial membership that limits the number of downloads? Not a time period, but the number of downloads.
Most membership site softwares will include a levels of membership. So what you're going to do is you're not going to necessarily limit the number of downloads. What you're going to say is, as a trial, you get level 1. And level 1 includes these particular content items, but not the rest.
Anything?
Usually it's tied to a particular piece of content.
And again, he should come to the June 28th to figure out which one to select, right?
Yeah. And we're also going to be doing a PDF report, too, because some people prefer reading. I know I do.
Got it. Did you have a follow-up, Branch?
Yeah, how do you counter the person who thinks, well, I can just find this information on the internet, so I don't need to join your site?
Exactly. That's a really good counter. First of all, you come up with something that's, unbearably great information where they're really going to have to look hard to find it. And second of all, you might have a member testimonial sitting right there with the guy saying, this is better than anything I could ever find for free. This is totally worth paying for. I mean, try to get, a member who's saying something that is like that. A third thing to do is to invent a premium. A premium is something like you get a free gift with your order. And that gift is something that people might recognize as being worth money. So you might say, you get a free hiking map with your order. And they're like, oh, I get a hiking map. Now, you may deliver that in PDF format. You may deliver that in print. There's a lot of different considerations. So you might say, oh, there's something to push them over the edge. So you have killer content that really is better than what they can get free. It's often more niche, more pointed. Most of the free stuff is a little fuzzy. You have testimonials, things saying, this really is worth it. This is, oh my God, this is how I solved my pain point that nothing else did. And then you enhance the value. You make it seem more and more valuable. You're like, wow, this is worth $199 and I'm only getting it for $19 or whatever. You begin to nice commercial things.
Perfect. Another question? Anyone? Okay, Fez has a question.
Hi, Anne. Just want to
Hi,
ask,
Fez.
hi, if I am doing on my camping website providing information on, let's say, a topic called off-road driving skills, and that's a very big topic, which if I did one product, it would be a 3-hour DVD. Would it be better to break that up into smaller topics and sell it as a membership information?
Yes, that's exactly what you do.
Okay.
You can call it the off-road driving course, and you break it up into different pieces. There's a website called marketmotive.com, and they give classes in internet marketing and things like that. And what they found is that the average course time that works the best is 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
Excellent. Question?
Yeah, I've got a
question. Kevin Dawson, Asperger's Authority.
I've got a couple of questions in regards to your conversion strategies. First of all, do these change over
Could
time?
you speak up, Kevin? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I had a question in regards to to a lot of the conversion strategies that you're offering, that you're telling us about. First of all, they do apply for list building and for sales too, as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And would you say that they change over time, or are they evergreen?
This is fairly evergreen information.
Okay.
Now, the specific offer that may work for your site could be different. I mean, you may find that, top 10 tips for parents works the best for a little while, and then maybe there's some new federal law or something that you could refer to, like, the Parent's Guide to Obama's new Asperger law, or, who knows? I mean, so you may come up with something that's more timely. There may be some new pain point or some new drug or something that's, interesting. You could have does your kid have Asperger's, take the quiz? I mean, there's all sorts of different things that you're going to test to do lead generation.
And finally, we're discussing this last night. What do you think about the New York Times model, where you have to where you read most of it, but then you have to opt in to read the rest? I mean, maybe just for a free site, even, where by using a free site, a free membership site, that's an additional vehicle to capture their emails and things, so they get to read the total article. You think that's a good model?
Yeah, no, I understand. The key is New York Times had an enormous amount of data, visitor data, traffic data, usership data, before they launched their paywall. I'm not saying they launched their paywall properly. They got a lot of mistakes there. But they knew that people were being driven in multiple times per month, no matter what. They were coming in through a million different places. So they knew that traffic was going to keep on coming. When they hit the paywall, sooner or later they were hopefully going to have to pay. And they already had all sorts of data on that. You don't necessarily. You don't have that return traffic necessarily. So I wouldn't copy what the New York Times does. They're a really different outfit. Second of all, every single case study that we've done, and I've done them for eons, has shown that the more free content you give away, the lower the conversion rate on your paywall. If people smell that they can get some stuff free, they make the assumption that the rest of it may be free too, or why bother paying, there's enough for free. That's why what we advise people to do is to make your membership site like 100% paid. They can come and they can see a paywall page, they can see a summary page, and that's it. They got to sign up to get anywhere. Really put that barrier as close to the front page as possible. Now, if you want more content and lead generation and this and that to get email and all of that, great, that's maybe why you have a separate blog.
Gotcha.
I mean, we certainly have a separate blog to Paywall Times, and that works very well for SEO and everything else.
Yeah, so in other words, you've got your membership site is not part of your general quote-unquote authority site, in which where you're trying to get SEO for one thing. So you might then send them to another site that is specifically for paywall purposes and everything is paid.
Right. Subscription Site Insider is 100% paid. You can't see anything, really, unless you pay. Or at least, you sign up and then bam, you get a barrier. So you've got to pay to get in. The Paywall Times is 100% free blog.
Okay, and that's for SEO. Now, here's my question, sort of a last question, and it's just because I lived in New York a long time, we got limited time, so I'm going to cut it off. I want to know the answer to this question just as a New Yorker for 20 years, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Is the New York Times going to make it with their paywall concept?
You'd have to ask my editor that. I've got to tell you, I have not been tracking that very closely. I hate to say it, but I'm not the right person for that one.
Okay, since that's what
you're aware, we publish like 4 different. Right now, we're publishing 5 different titles, and I just can't be an expert in everything.
That sounds good. So, since that question was so quick, Ermel had a question.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for the presentation. Great presentation. I'm Ermel from the UK. I currently run a web marketing company in the UK. But what I'm doing is I'm kind of going online and setting up a new business. This is the reason I'm here with Fred. Providing information products in the internet marketing industry from my experience over the last 10 years consulting offline businesses. Now, Do you think, obviously, in the internet niche at the moment, it would be better to create info products or to start with a membership site?
Well,
Does that make sense?
okay, first of all, you're going to corporate America and not to the Internet Marketing How to Get Rich Quick group.
No, he's going to the Get Rich Quick group.
Are you, Erwin?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm setting up a site called Internet Marketing Tourist. In about 3 months, I'm starting
But
traveling.
who's the
around
target?
world.
The target is not corporate people, it's entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Okay, different niches.
It's more information marketers.
Those are really different niches. I'm sorry?
Yes, it's more targeting internet marketing for information marketers, people who want to make money using the internet, as opposed to offline businesses that currently have some kind of offline presence.
Okay.
Would it be better? Sorry.
There's a couple of things you're going to have to determine right away. One of them is, are you going to go to the wannabes or are you going to go to the people who are already doing it? In the internet marketing space, the gulf between the wannabes and the people who already have a site, who are already kind of working on it, are already making a little bit of revenue, is profound. I mean, it's just between an ant and an astronaut.
Oh, really?
Just don't think that you're going to, You can't use the same marketing, you can't use the same affiliates, you can't use the same headlines, you can't use the same offers, pricing, everything is different.
Right. So what you're saying
I
is
don't know if you know, but I used to be the publisher of something called Marketing Sherpa.
Oh, really?
Really?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I founded that in 2000 and sold it in 2007.
Wow.
And at Marketing Sherpa, we went to the corporate world. Our customers were all in the corporate world. Then I was working for a short time, not working for, I was on the board of a company called StomperNet.
Yes.
For the internet marketing, kind of how to get rich quick people.
Yes, of course.
And it was founded by a very old friend of mine, so I came on to help him out for a very short time. He was in between executives, and I was on the advisory board. And it was fascinating for both of us because his marketplace and his people, I mean, the price point was so different. Everything was so different. And I even had StomperNet people at one point come and speak at a Marketing Sherpa show. And, I mean, the people who were the corporate people were so, I can only use the word revolt. I mean, they were so revolted by these, I mean, they were just, like wanted to throw up. I mean, they were just disgusted by the StomperNet people. You could not put them in the same room.
So marketing...
Let her finish.
Sorry, so Marketing Sherpa was targeting corporates, while StomperNet is more the wannabe internet marketer.
Right. And now there's a third group, which is the entrepreneur with an ongoing business, but it's still kind of a mom and pop shop, maybe less than 10 employees. That's who we've got a lot of launches right now, and most of our launches are targeting that marketplace. Again, really different than the wannabe. The wannabe is very difficult to make reoccurring revenue from because wannabes tend to not have any sticking power.
Yes.
You know, they come on and they're like, yeah, I can get rich. I'm desperate. I need money. Oh my God. You know, and they sign up and then they've got ADD. And 2 seconds later, they're going off and doing something else. They're sort of like stock pickers. You know, they'll hop on one stock and then they'll hop off to the next market stock. They have no attention. If you're going to sell the wannabes, make an information product, sell the crap out of it, make it a book, make it a one-off, because you're not going to be able to get ding their credit card that many times in a row.
I see.
Hey,
Thank
good.
you.
Hey, Anne.
If you're selling to be ongoing in this business, then you can make it something that actually is reoccurring, but make sure that you have ongoing stuff for them.
Hey, Anne, the information has been marvelous. Thank you very, very much. I'm sure you'll have a lot of these folks as subscribers. I know that I'll continue to be one, and let's talk again real soon.
Have a great time. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Anne.
Anne.
Bye. Yeah, so there you have it.
So I just understand